Didn't find anything in my email. I don't know how to proceed from here.
Well, we do have one.
There's no bids?
Our regular guy, that was one I was concerned about.
Maybe not enough people knew about it. You gonna put
He
it back
said
out?
he sent one, and he didn't get his number.
Yeah, this one.
Either put it back out or
Just do the electrical bid, electrician.
I don't know.
It never showed
Sometimes
up.
people don't know about it. People are so busy right now, they're not even knowing that that's going on.
But you know, it wouldn't be that difficult to have a piece of mail get somewhere it doesn't belong and just lay there.
Yeah.
That's the
I can
problem,
see that happening.
because people are so far booked up right now, they ain't got time to be out there looking for bids.
Yeah,
Wow.
It could have been delivered to another office.
and it's laying on somebody's desk.
But if you're gonna put it back out, let me know, I'll tell a couple of companies to look at it.
Okay. Hello. Oh.
That's your problem.
That could be, Judge. This technology. Shooting in my auto steer goes down Saturday and
Okay, we're all ready?
fighting that battle. She's just a $10,000 or $15,000 deal.
Good morning, it's 9 o'clock, we'll call this meeting of Wichita County Commissioners Court order. If everyone please rise. This time I'd like to call on Commissioner Beecham to give the invocation.
pray with me, please. Good and gracious Heavenly Father, Lord, we come to you just as a thankful people to live in the greatest nation ever on the planet, Lord. Lord, and thankful that we're able to serve our community, Lord. We pray that you would guide our thoughts and actions and directions this morning, Lord, as we conduct the county's business. Lord, we pray for our community and our greater community that as we see a little spike in the COVID right now, Lord, that, Lord, you would hold those that are sick in your hand, Lord, and heal them back into full health, Lord. Lord, we pray that this spike would be very short, and Lord, we would get on and be on about our regular lives, Lord. Lord, we just pray for those that are in harm's way, for us to keep us safe, Lord, that you'd watch over and protect them. Lord, we just love you and thank you for loving us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, sir. So join in the pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Take your seats, please. This time I'd ask the court to take action on the consent agenda, bring down or ask for clarification. I did have a question, Commissioner Watts, on item number 8 on the consent agenda. What did they actually do out in that area? Talked about pipe fence or something, or there was that?
Yeah, we had to replace all the corners. We scooted that back, Judge, and we moved it so we could get into a waterway that had never been completed there. It dumped water out onto the road, and instead of turning it to the creek, we had to remove quite a bit of trees that had encroached the road, but we scooted the whole thing back about at least 8 foot probably
This is the wrong.
from start to finish of the road, and took all the fence up so we could get in there and turn around and do that. But that's what that entailed. That's South Coleman.
Okay.
That's not just this year. That was some carryover as well. We just didn't get to a stopping point in time.
Okay. Okay. Any other comments or questions on the consent agenda?
Motion to approve, Judge.
Second.
Any comments or questions, anyone in the audience or on the phone about the consent agenda items? Hearing none, I'll ask for a vote on the motion by Commissioner Mahler, second by Commissioner Beecham to accept the consent agenda as presented. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. I'm going to take things out of order. We have a guest here today that we have asked to come and enlighten us on information about the discussions. It's item number 9, discussions on potential Army Corps of Engineers closure of Truscott Bryan Lake and the potential effects on Wichita County. It's Mr. Russell Schreiber, who is Director of Public Works for the City of Wichita Falls. Russell, thanks a lot for taking the time to come.
You bet, Judge. My pleasure. My pleasure. For everyone who may not be familiar with the Chloride Control Project, I know it's a project that kind of sits way off, and actually it's near Truscott or almost to Guthrie. But it's a project that does impact our water supply here in Wichita Falls, not only Wichita Falls, but our 15 wholesale customers, as well as the irrigation district, fish hatchery, Dundee, and several others. The power plant at Opal Union uses that water. So to give everybody a little bit of history, the Chloride Control Project was studied by the Corps of Engineers and the U.S. Public Health Department, now the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. And I'm not sure if Judge had a chance to share this with any U.S.
I'm not sure, but I was just thinking
Yeah.
that, but we'll get that to him right after this.
They studied this in 1957, and what they found was a lot of the salt that was being contributed to the Wichita River and ultimately the Red River was coming from salt springs in West Texas on the 3 branches of the Wichita River, the north, the middle, and the south fork of the Wichita River. And there's some other salt springs in Oklahoma that are actually contributing salt into the red. So they studied it, and in 1974, the WRDA Act, Water Resource Development Act, actually funded development of 3 areas, Area 8, Area 7, Area 8, and Area 10. The Corps subsequently built Area 8 in the 80s, in the late 80s, and they've operated it ever since. In the area, they built a large brine lake at Truscott, but upstream of that, nearly in Guthrie, they built an inflatable dam across the southern branch of the Wichita River. And that's where after studying the area, that's where most of the salt's coming from. So during low flow times, the dam is inflated, that low flow, high concentrated salt water is captured. It's then pumped 27 miles into this brine lake where it eventually evaporates. They don't do anything with it there, it just evaporates. And then when a rain event comes, they deflate the dam, and all the fresher water is allowed to pass through and run into Lake Kemp, and Lake Diversion, Wichita River, downstream to the Red, and ultimately into Lake Texoma. Well, that thing's been cruising along for the last 34 years. The city of Wichita Falls built their MFRO plant based on that chloride control project remaining in place. I mean, that's a reasonable assumption, wouldn't you think? Mm-hmm. And so our systems are designed to treat that water at the lower concentration salt. So if the Corps discontinues operation of the chloride control project, over time we would expect those chloride salts to elevate in Lake Kemp. That impacts our ability to treat that water. It also impacts the irrigation district's ability to use that water for irrigation. It's going to impact the parks and wildlife at the fish hatchery. It's certainly going to impact the power plant at Opal Union, which is in the process of retooling and converting from coal-fired to gas-fired plant. So it's a pretty big linchpin in our water supply. That's the largest lake in the North Texas area. So we're concerned about it. The operation of it is not in the president's budget. When the Corps brought that to our attention, we immediately reached out to our federal legislators, Representative Fallon, Senator Cornyn, Senator Cruz. You got in touch with Senator Cruz. We've also reached out to the state legislatures because we see that as more of a state water issue. I mean, it's localized, but it's really a state water issue. So they're doing what they can, on up the food chain through the governor's office and hopefully put some pressure on the Corps. Maybe the Water Development Board, TCQ, maybe those folks can help apply some pressure to the federal legislatures to fund or find some money to fund the operation. It's only $1.5 million, and that's what the Corps operating in. $1.5 million out of, I don't know how many billion-dollar budget that the Department of Defense has, but you would think that would be pretty easy to find. And so we've actually, through Senator Cornyn's office, put an appropriations request in to the I guess the Senate's where it wound up, I don't even do it online. And so we're doing everything we can to push this thing along and request that through a special appropriations bill, which will probably come up later on this year, that the 1.5 million be included back in there. And Judge and I talked about, well, what happens if the Corps doesn't fund this, and they, who knows if they will or not, most likely not. What happens then? Is there a way for the city of Wichita Falls Irrigation District and others just to go in and take over the project? And the short answer to that is no. In 2007, under the WRDA Act, Senator Imhoff out of Oklahoma had specific language put in the WRDA Act that says the project has to be built and operated with federal dollars, which means we can't go in and we can't give them $1.5 million to Corps and say, continue to run this thing. They can't do that. We can't even go in and take it over. It's a federal piece of property. It's federal facilities. So whoever winds up with it, if it's not the Corps, is going to somehow have to acquire it. And that, from what I can tell, that means buying it. There's 12,000 acres out there. There's pumps, the brine lake, all kinds of things. I mean, I don't even know what that would cost. So we are doing everything we can at the federal level and at the state level to try to request some type of appropriations for the continued operation of this. And it's probably only going to be for 1 year. It may be a battle we have to fight every year, but at least that buys us a little bit of time to maybe figure out what to do with that project. I probably said a lot more than you needed to hear, so and I'm sure you have questions. I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Russell, what is the situation look like going forward with that reservoir? I mean, what is the ideal makeup or setup of that situation?
The ideal is to have the Corps continue to operate, just as they've done for the last 34 years. That's the ideal situation. After that, it gets real fuzzy for me because of the fact that 2007 WRDA Act, we can't just go in there and take it over and run it. It gets pretty complicated. I think whatever happens to that thing is going to take some type of legislative action at the federal level to figure out how to get rid of it. They are doing a disposition study now, and I guess, dumb me, it just now dawned on me, the disposition study means they want to dispose of that asset. They're figuring out the best way to dispose of it. They've stopped operation. They stopped operation July 6th. So it's not like the chlorides are going to elevate tomorrow to where we can't use the water, but they're going to elevate over time. And it's going to be something that we're going to have to step into at some point in time.
You mentioned the things, what it's going to cause. It's going to affect Wichita Falls and its water customers, but it's also going to affect the fish hatchery. It's going to go on down to Lake Texoma. Lake Texoma feeds into multiple number of other cities for water supply.
Right.
This is not, plus it goes on to Oklahoma and Arkansas.
Right.
This is not a small. What I wanted this material in your presentation today. I started a letter I'm going to send to President Biden. I'm not a fan of executive orders, but this is one I'd love to see if he could do as an executive order. Now, the defunding, I understand, started before the Biden administration, and it operated off reserve funds the last 2 fiscal years, I believe is the correction.
I think that's right, yes.
Yeah. So, and I don't think the President of the United States, past president, current president, could tell you where the Truscott Bryan Lake is.
But they all know where Truscott is.
Right, well, downtown Truscott. At any rate, I think we've got to try to bring that as quickly, and what I hope we can do, and I really appreciate the efforts you all have put into this, but it's gonna boil down to politics. And I'm going to hope we can get that letter through. Bob Hampton does a great job of mail delivery, and I'm going to give him a copy and see if he'll take it to Washington for us, and if anybody can get it in there, I'm gonna count on Mr. Hampton to be able to do that.
They won't allow me up there.
So beyond our water impact, what's the environmental impact?
That's the other, area that we haven't really, delved into, Mark. It's, to me, that's where the Corps is failing. I mean, they have, environmental, they've established some environmental standards out there now, if you will, by having this project in operation for 34 years, and just to cease to operate it, looks to me like you'd be negatively affecting the environment back. I don't know what they're doing. That Bryan Lake is a 3,000-acre lake, and the dam on it is considered a high hazard dam, so they have to maintain that dam at least until the lake goes dry. So they've got a lot of issues to work through. We are using the River Valley Association as well, Judge. to
Yes,
help
sir.
us.
Yeah.
Rich Brontoli, River Valley Association is Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, and Arkansas, since the red basically impacts those 4 states. And he's been through this numerous times at the federal level through an appropriations request and bill. And so he's gonna help us in DC when the time comes. He thinks that'll be sometime in October. Did he copy you on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Or you
And,
did, actually.
Right, and so that's going to be our critical time, and it may be a time when we need to go to DC and be with him in Cornyn and Cruz's offices and Jackson and others to see if there's something we can do.
Russell, I didn't realize they'd already ceased operations. I assumed that was coming in the start of the fiscal year, and of course, everybody needs to realize that's September 1st. That's not January 1st, so timing is critical. Any thoughts on when they would start the disposition of that? Is that gonna be a pretty quick process, or? Because that's gonna really matter if we're sitting here trying to get this thing gathered up. We don't, I don't know that we want it disposed of, and
Right.
unless we can buy it,
Right.
and, I don't know.
To answer your question, Barry, they stopped operation. They're gonna drain the 20-mile pipeline as much as they can. They're going to remove the pumps from the pump station and shell them somewhere. And I guess they'll just let the dam down. I don't think they'll remove it. But everything is going to remain on site for the time being. And then they're gonna chain the gates up and walk away from it. I think they got 3 or 4 employees over there. They're probably gonna continue to pay them through the end of the year just to maintain the dam, and there's a operations center there in Truscott. So that's the reason they stopped early, because they wanted to make sure they had enough money in this budget to pay these employees through the end of the year.
Yeah, see it through,
Stop,
yeah.
They don't want to pay the power cost and that type of thing. So it's not like they're going to demolish anything or remove, equipment and things like that. Everything should remain there on site somewhere, so that whoever does pick this thing up in the future, if somebody picks it up in the future, everything should still be in place.
So with any system like that, when you shut it down and you try to reactivate it, it's going to have failures.
No.
It's
Especially
gonna
when you've been
require-
pumping salt water for the last 20 years.
Right.
Russell, I hope everybody understands the tremendous impact of this on this entire area. This is not just some little federal boo-boo we're talking about out there that we may not ever hear anything about or move forward. This is a huge deal, and I would assume that when we get back into a dry cycle, and we will, like we've been in the past, that could severely affect the water situation, and not just the city of Wichita Falls, but this entire trade area, because that's where it all comes from.
Absolutely.
So this is serious business.
You got the major investment of the federal government in Shepherd Air Force Base.
Right.
And, that's one of the things we counted on, was that backup during the drought.
Right.
And, it's, when you mention only federal money, we've all been given a nice sum of money. That's federal money. Maybe we could find a way to squeeze under the door with that, but.
I wish we could. That were to act.
Yeah.
The Corps basically told us on several conference calls, you can't fund it.
And the opportunity to lease the facility from the Corps Does that exist at all, Russell?
I don't know, Jeff, that's probably good, that's probably the next step. I don't know that we've ever asked them that specifically. But that would probably be the next step possibly. I really think they don't want to get out from underneath it. They want to quit operating it. What I've been told is that they're supposed to get out. They're not supposed to be in the water quality business. And so I think they're getting pressured from other federal agencies to get out of that business. And that's the reason they're where we are today. So,
Then what agency does that?
EPA and the Bureau of Rec. I mean, I think the other option is that we talk to the Bureau of Reclamation and ask them to take over the project and fund it and operate it. And it doesn't have to be the Corps of Engineers. It could be any federal agency as far as I know. But the Bureau of Reclamation makes the most sense to us. And, I mean, that's what they do. So, I don't know. There's a lot of things that had play here that I've never dealt with before, to be perfectly honest with you. And, we're going through the motions as best we know how.
Well, it's not only a question of water quality, it becomes a question of water quantity. That's the kicker on this thing. Yeah, I know we're immediately talking about quality, but the quantity of water available to the citizens of this area is a real question mark.
Regional sustainability over 1.5 million a year.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. And that's the reason we talked to the state guys, the state legislators, Frank and
Springer?
Springer.
Yeah.
And so, because you're exactly right, Barry, it's a state water issue. We operate under the state water plan. We have a regional water plan, and you remove that largest lake from that supply chain, it's state water, the state owns it, we just get to use it. We have to get a permit to use it. So it's a state water issue in our eyes, and that's the reason we're asking them to step in and do what we can.
Does the federal government own the footprint of that Brine Lake?
Yep.
I would assume they did.
12,000 acres around it.
Yeah, okay, so they've got,
Yeah. So you can go up there and hunt and do other things. They use it for recreation. But
yeah.
you know that country, Barry, that's.
I've been to it, yeah. I've been to the lake,
rough country.
yeah.
It's an interesting lake. Been there.
The interesting oxymoron in this is, what did we receive all this money for in the American Recovery Act?
Water
Water and
projects.
sewer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, and here we sit.
yeah.
$1.5 million. I mean, the Corps of Engineers, more money than that falls out of the pocket every day.
Yeah,
Every hour, probably. $1.5 million, that's nothing. That's absolutely nothing to the Corps of Engineers.
And
But it's not in the budget. So our best shot's this appropriations request. That's kind of a long shot, but talking to the Corps, they think there's a possibility there. But then again, it's 1 year.
yeah.
And if they're getting pressure from some other federal agency to get out of the water quality business, we're gonna be having the same discussion year after year after year. So long term, it probably makes more sense to get the Corps out of there and get somebody else in place. Whether that's local entities or whether that's the federal.
You know, and another sad thing about this, I guess there's lots of sad things to talk about, is the city of Wichita Falls has done a tremendous job in gearing up to utilize the things that they had around them to make us more secure in our water by building the RO plant. What a tremendous, if you've never been through that plant over there, you need to go. I've been through it. It's pretty impressive. And that thing was designed and built to utilize the resources we had available, including the reuse project. And it's a brilliant plan to take an arid part of the state and make us sustainable for water. And now we're going to have the rug pulled out from under us after making the investment of time and money and engineering. It's just a sad, sad deal.
I know, but
Yeah.
you're singing the same song we've been singing.
Yeah.
for a bit. It's just, it makes no sense to us for them to just cease operation and then do a disposition study. Do the study, continue to operate it, give us some time to get our arms around it if we have to. You guys figure out how you want to dispose of it and let us know how that's going to happen. Give us some time to work together here. Don't impact us just in 2 weeks, they quit operating last week, but we knew about it a week before that. I mean, my gosh. let's work together on this thing.
Bureaucracy.
Anyway, I appreciate your time.
Appreciate
Thank
you.
you, and thank you for working on it.
Any help you can give us, we certainly will appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate all you've done to keep us in water for the last few years, so.
Well, that's what we get paid to do, Mark, so hopefully we're doing the best we can, and I hope that we're doing all we can.
Y'all deserve a lot of credit for all your efforts, so.
All right.
Thank you,
y'all.
Russell.
Okay, thank you. Let me ask Court, let's move back to item number 1, review and approve the regular bills for payment.
Motion to pay, Judge.
Matt, y'all have any comment on the bills? Okay. Well, I'll be glad when we get our other system, it'll work. This is a little long looking to get through it. But, okay. Any comments or questions anyone about the bills? Okay. Motion by Commissioner Muller, second by Commissioner Fincannon, to approve the item as stated. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Is Jim coming this morning? No. Okay. He's putting you on. All right. Okay, item number 2 is discuss, consider, take action to amend the staff salaries in the Public Defender's Office for the remainder of 2021 through the use of vacancy funds and adjustments to become effective August 16th. List of adjustments is attached.
Two. I'm gonna look at that just a second.
This is, the only thing that's different in this from what we talked to Mr. Rasmussen and the presentation on it last Friday, brought into he asked to go ahead and use that money to fund the administrative position, the $1,200 early. That was outside our original scope of understanding, and while I'm sure everybody could use a pay raise sooner than, I don't think that's within what we were trying to do in some other similar actions.
I'm not for all those. So it hadn't changed. Okay. So question I have.
Sir?
From what was presented the last time I was here with the $1,200 on all of them, that hasn't changed at all?
No, that.
Okay.
We did allow for our attorneys and for investigators is what we originally started with.
Yes.
Judge, I'm not sure about I'm not sure about the way that's written, to be honest with you. I'm not sure if the intent was, to take action to amend staff salaries.
You think that's probably the 2022 budget proposal? And, I mean,
Well-
go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, I know what, and first off, Jim's still recovering from surgery, that's why he's on here.
okay.
I just wanted to make sure that y'all understood, he didn't think this wasn't important. It's just, he had hip surgery, so he's still at home. And I may have relayed things improperly to him. I went back to him after we discussed Friday, and I told him what y'all's reservations were about the fact that you seem to be somewhat okay with attorneys, investigators, but you weren't with the rest of the staff. That was kind of my impression.
Yes, ma'am.
And I relayed that to him, and I thought, and I could be wrong, I thought, and I'm not sure how y'all work exactly, but
We're
I
not
thought
in
that was what was going to be presented, or maybe it's written so that if y'all decide that's what you want to do.
So you relayed to him that the attorneys and investigators seemed to Mike it might be all right with the commissioners,
Yes,
but not across the board department-wide.
right, until January.
So we can reword this to however it needs to be, but if we're gonna vote on it strictly on the way it is proposed, then that's what I wanna know what I'm voting on, which,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy to reword it however it will get passed, that's what I'm trying to say. And I'm not sure if we need to,
Well, we can divide, the motion can change to say it only
Exactly.
approves the attorneys and the investigators and no other staff, just in case there's
and I
some.
think that's what the intent was. If y'all
Okay.
decided that that's what you wanted to do, then y'all could make that motion and proceed otherwise. Obviously, we would want everyone, but if that is what we can get at this moment, then we will take that. But I think he was writing it up that way so that if y'all needed to, y'all could make your motion the way you wanted to. That's what I'm trying to do.
Okay.
Rebecca, do you have a replacement for one of those positions? Do you think that y'all found a candidate?
Yes, sir, we think so. So we're hoping that that'll be filled in August. I'm sure
So-
we can fill the other position if
do
we
you need somebody to make a motion to?
had to, but it's gonna take a
Then
little
I'll
bit
do
longer.
it.
Is that position 4? Is that what we're talking about?
It's 3 or
It's 4, isn't it?
Yeah, 4
Yeah,
maybe,
okay.
yeah.
Thought it probably was.
In that case, then I'm gonna go ahead and move to make a motion to amend the public defender's staff salaries, including the lawyers and the investigators.
And no other stuff.
And no,
Well, at the proposed rate increase, not including any other staff members.
Okay.
For-
I'll second
to
that.
start.
to
Yes,
start
that's for the
Aug-
2021.
To start
Right,
August
that's
1st.
just for the rest of the.
Correct.
Start the first pay period in August.
And I say that,
August 16th is the request.
yeah, it was proposed August 16th.
Yes.
And the reason, and just for the people listening and all this, monitoring TV or whatever, we are losing people out of the public defender's office to other departments, other agencies that pay a lot more. We're trying to be somewhat competitive. Wichita County is still below in most every type of pay. DA's office, public defender's office, sheriff's office, we all know that. And we're trying to keep our employees, valued employees, the best we can, but we still have to look out for the taxpayers, so. Thank
And
you. I appreciate it.
And I would just throw this in there. Judge King's already sent us a jury trial notices starting up August 9th. August 9th.
Well, I'm
13
great.
trials, and we have half of them, so.
Well, that's great. I mean,
Ready to
to say
go.
that that's happening,
So
that's a
just to
great
let you
deal.
know, it's not, it started, so.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Fincannon, a second by Commissioner Beecham to approve the item as restated. All in favor, excuse me. Any questions in the audience or anyone on the phone on this? Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Fincannon, second by Commissioner Beecham to approve the restated motion that would allow these increases as requested to be effective August 16th, 2021 for attorneys and investigators only and not any other staff. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item 2 is discuss, consider, or take action to approve do-it-all Bates construction estimate cost not to exceed $17,000 for additional items added to the existing repair of Precinct 4 office to include replacing shop roof with insulation, replacing gutters on roof, office roof, and external siding around office area, and electrical to be paid from Fund 224 with specific lines determined by the county auditor. Commissioner Watts.
Yes, Judge, that it actually is stated incorrectly.
That's-
It does not include the replacing, where it says to include should be does not include replacing the shop roof, the gutters, external siding. We're going to bid, and the electrical, we're going to bid those specific items out.
This is interior work.
Interior work, yes, just additional things that we've done inside, and some more painting and things as we got into some of the damaged area.
That's good. I was gonna ask you, because I read that and I was like,
Yeah.
That's not what I
Yeah,
saw.
no, we're
That's
going to
what-
bid the roof, bid the exterior siding, the electrical. The electrical, we had found that problem when we were in there moving some plugs around. It's getting too hot. The panel box is getting too hot, so we've got to upsize a few wires there.
And what was the first estimate that they did work on?
On that
Interior.
building, 16.
So we'll be at around 34 on just interior work.
Which is some, probably the largest cost of that, Mick, is flooring.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
We had some subfloor work to do in the back bathroom area, just to stiffen that flooring up some.
So in the item, we want to take out after precinct 4 office to include, we'll remove to include replacing shop roof with insulation, replacing gutters and our office roof, external siding, office areas, and, is electrical still in that or not?
No, it's also going to be bid out, Judge.
Okay. But it's still to be paid from Fund 224?
Right.
Okay.
We thought that was a cleaner way to do it.
Any other comments or questions on this item by anyone?
Looks like a good bid. I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Beecham, second by Commissioner Fincannon to approve the item as revised. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, 5-0. Item number 4, discuss, consider, and take action on one of 2 Texas flooring gallery quotes to replace the carpet in the IT offices at a cost of up to $4,000 to be paid from Permanent Improvement Fund. Commissioner Beecham?
Yes, Judge, that carpet's among the worst that I've seen in all of our areas, so it's probably 25-plus years old. It needs to be replaced. I'd make the motion to take the lesser of the 2 with the roll carpet, since most of the furniture's out of there right now. They can do the roll carpet pretty quickly. So I'd make the motion to accept the $33.44 bid.
33. I'll second that. That probably is the worst looking carpet in the courthouse.
It's terrible.
And I'm not always for replacing carpet.
In this case, it badly needs it.
Okay, which offices are we talking about?
It's the original IT office,
The
the
two
big main
small and
office and the
the
two
main
small.
lobby.
Okay, I can hear
Down to
one
the-
of you, and I asked that one, please.
Yeah, the original office, IT office is the large office
Okay.
and the 2 small offices at the
All
end
on
of the
that
hall.
south side?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. What about the remodel? What's that gonna,
They're, at least right now, happy with the way everything's set up, so we're not planning on
so
doing
this
anything.
is gonna go in that former sheriff's, warrants and
This will not, this just takes
it'll
care,
stop short of that?
yeah, it just takes care of the original offices, so.
Okay.
What is the floor in that other one, Mark?
It's
Is it
good
just
carpet.
tile?
No,
Oh,
it's
it's
carpet.
good carpet?
Yeah.
So it's the same age, it's the same carpet as this here.
Okay.
All right, thanks, sir. Okay. Motion by Commissioner Beecham, second by Commissioner Fincannon to approve the bid of $3,344 from Texas Florida. Any comments or questions by anyone in the audience? Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 5 is receive a monthly investment report from Mr. Hampton, County Treasurer.
These are my colored sheets. There they are.
Hello, gentlemen.
Morning, sir.
Brand new reporter here.
When is that meeting with David Graff?
You got a breakdown on the end of June, Friday. I hope you
Where is it here?
No. Here's June of last year. Plus some other information that, I know you guys don't want to dwell on financial stuff, but that's my job to keep you as well apprised of how things are as I can. The interesting thing about the end of June this year, we're 17% of where we were in general funds last year, 17%. Pretty significant, a little over $7 million.
Wait a minute, say that again. You're 17% up or down or
Above.
above? Okay, I like that.
Yeah. And when you look on, that's on page 1.
You don't have a printing press back there in the office, do you?
Well, we may, of course. And then the grand total on page 4, you notice, that's 69 million. That represents 11% improvement of where we were this time last year. One thing I would like to point out to you on page 4 is the fact that this monthly income, just a little over $58,000 in interest income. So, and the important thing on that is, what I just gave you, this page right here is a little snapshot. Our touchstone or the barometer that we use is the 10-year treasury, of course, to give you an idea of where our economy is going right now. The 10-year treasury is trading at 1.5, 10-year treasury. And then what I get almost every day are opportunities to invest, mostly in government securities. And right now, if you're looking at this, there's a interesting Federal Farm Credit Bureau is trading at 2.5 years for 0.3. And another Federal Home Loan Bond for 4 years is trading at 75 basis points.
Yeah.
So right now, our bank is giving us that, so we want to brag on American National Bank. And we have monies invested in other banks here in Wichita Falls, locally owned banks. And they've all been very, very good to Wichita County. So my hat is off to them, and so they need to be bragged on.
Why the wide swings in the precinct numbers? It was a couple months ago, I was over 2 million, and now I'm at 1.6. I haven't spent $500,000 on anything.
Well, I use the balance deal that I get from the auditor's office, tries to keep the precincts all in the same range. And so when you get out of flux, well, then you get to pay for every other week, of course, we have to pay payroll. And so that's how that payroll, and so there's that's how that works, Mark.
So steal from the rich and give to the poor?
I'm sorry?
Steal from the rich and give to the poor?
You're not saying there's funds being used out of precinct 1 to equalize the payments out of the others, are you?
No, but I just try to balance it, Judge. I get a printout from the auditor, or was getting one.
I mean, for the longest time, I've had considerable more funds than other precincts, and now all of a sudden, I've got second to the least amount.
Yeah,
And I haven't done,
be glad to get with you. and
I haven't
we'll
done any
walk
more
over.
work than anyone else has done or spent anything. I haven't bought any trucks, haven't bought any equipment. I don't understand why I'm $500,000 down.
Be glad to go over those numbers with you and try to figure out an answer.
Matt, can you lend anything to that?
I can look at the numbers with Jose, I can get it back to you, but it should be.
Okay.
Now, Mark, I'm not following you. What do you think your balance is, Mark?
Well, it wasn't a few months ago that I had over 2 million.
Well, it's showing 2.3.
No, that's
No,
20.
You're looking at 20.
1.6.
so I'm
Oh,
1.6.
I'm on the wrong page.
Close.
Huh.
Same month, just a year different.
And precinct 2's 1.7, and it wasn't that long ago, precinct 2 was down at 80,000, or 800,000 rather.
Well, I'm missing
Precinct two's been doing real good.
I'm not,
Bob, do you
I've
have
been-
this other?
You just handed them out. Is that 20?
20.
Yeah,
I
you
think
need the 21.
The 21's the one he gave Friday.
Oh.
It was in your chair.
Okay.
Okay. Here's, look on with me. I've got, this is your 21 right here.
Okay.
See, there's, like I'm looking
trying to
at
spend
mine,
my money on what I
1.8. I was at
Yeah,
1.5,
here's
so I'm
my-
up.
my 20
300.
numbers, I was at 2.395.
Yeah. Well, that's the reason I give those to you ahead of time so we can go over that.
Okay. Well,
And, glad to go over with you and we'll get
I have-
Jose to hook up. Of course, I don't know what we can tell you right now with things like they are.
I haven't been spending inordinate
But I still don't know
amount.
what we're paying today. I didn't get a list of checks like you guys did.
But Bob,
And the
these,
checks were printed over at the auditor's office.
that number right there is the accumulation of the investments.
That's our investments.
Correct.
So that
I
should
mean,
be,
is there-
the only way we pull money out of investments is if we
Which-
make a
that far
budget
right-
amendment.
Well, I'm just looking at precinct 1 here, and that 1.625 would be the total of that deal right there, which these are only investments, correct?
Yeah, and what you're looking at, though, Commissioner, is the far right hand is the cost. What you want to look at is, here we are right here at par value. The column labeled par value.
They add up the
And
same.
that's today's value.
They're all the same.
So hopefully the cost, and yeah, in your case, precinct case, yes, they are all the same because what we purchased has always been at par.
So,
What I try to do is buy things at a discount.
so in a year,
So that
I've
would
gone from 2.4 to 1.6 million in my investments, and I haven't really spent anything off my investments.
Commissioner, get with me,
Well,
I'll spend as much time as you want to
Okay.
spend, and I'll show you exactly what I base my numbers on.
okay, I'd like to see that.
Well, your net income is the highest on the list.
Yeah, just think if he had all this money, I guess.
Yeah, because I mean, on this, precinct 4 was at 661,000 last year, and it's 1.3.
Yeah. But, you know, we had.
Jeff hasn't ceased to work.
No, we hadn't, but we have cut down on employees. That helped us last year finish the year.
And he
well.
made that Bitcoin investment here a while
Yeah,
back.
Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Well, I think Commissioner's got a legitimate concern. I think Mr. Hampton and Mr.
Yeah.
Davis can go over that with you and get that, and maybe, you know, it might be good between now and next month's report, maybe to, and we'll have the new system should be more and more online by then, which you've asked for how many years?
Long time.
Long time.
Well, it didn't ask to be excluded from it, though.
Oh, okay.
That's the other side. Well, to give you an idea of where the economy is, the Dow, a year ago Friday, it closed at 25,706. Last Friday, it closed at 34,870, which is a 36% increase, the Dow. S&P closed at 39% increase. and the NASDAQ closed at 39% increase. So a lot of people say, well, you know, the market's up.
And yet we can't find anything to buy.
And I went down to see my son later.
Interesting.
Or not my son, but, matter of fact, Mark Price's funeral was Saturday. Mark Price was the county treasurer for Ellis County, and was Cindy Brown's chief deputy in Benton County, and he died of cancer. His service was Saturday down in Waxahachie, and I hate to say it's getting low on gas down in that area. Paid $2.74 for my tank. So we're,
Bob, what is the official inflation rate being quoted right now by the federal government?
the last I heard was 4.5, Commissioner.
What I'm finding in the real,
I'm thinking
what I'm finding in the real world, you need to add a zero to that.
I think I think we're being,
Well, if the markets are up that much, there's still a lot of people making a lot of money. It's just not your normal.
good point, Commissioner. All right, well,
Okay.
you let
Thank
me
you. I
know when
will.
you want to get after it.
Appreciate it.
We'll do it.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Any other questions or comments?
Oh, sir, thank you. Okay, item number 6 is receive an update on law enforcement center elevator project. Mr. Beecham.
Yeah, I received an email this morning from Scott. He's not going to be able to make our meeting. He's going to be here this afternoon. Looking through my emails from last week, it appears that we have passed all of our systems checks and rechecks. I want to visit with the entire team before we called jail commission. They had asked last Friday afternoon that jail commission be called. I asked them to hold off until I had a chance to review it. It sounds like all of our tests have passed.
What about the other issues we had on the tables and the seating? Is that a good idea until we have that answer to have the inspection, or?
Since that's a known quantity, we can go ahead and have the inspection on the other items. It seems from discussion with jail commission, they would let us go ahead and pass the inspection, give us the temporary occupancy pending the waiver. Of course, I don't believe we would actually move any inmates
Okay,
in
good.
until,
I don't
because
think
that's
we
just
should-
August the 5th when we would go before jail commission and ask for that waiver. We have some other ideas that we are pursuing with those tables at this moment. Since I was gone the last 3 days last week, I don't know exactly where we're at on that.
I just wholeheartedly agree, we don't move until we have above the level of jail commission on the ADA issue.
Sure, no, and that's, I believe that's what we all have planned, so.
Okay.
Is that if we go ahead and get the inspection now, we pass all the other items, we go August the 5th for that waiver, and once we have that waiver, if the waiver is still required, and we do some of the steps that we're looking at taking, then we will not move in until we have all that settled with jail commission.
Okay, very good, thank you. Okay,
And
what
for-
about the elevator project?
Elevator project, I know they were laying tile in the lobbies last week. I did not make it up there this morning to see how far they got. So it's moving along. I believe they probably closed the sidewalks this morning to start that demolition on the sidewalks out front.
I know you were gone, Commissioner Watts had an idea and followed up on it to look at on any of the outside stuff, if we could assist.
Oh, yeah,
us.
I've talked to Karen, and she was going to help us put that together between the
On the
4B/TIF. And I told her that I didn't know that we had drawings yet, but when we got those, she wanted to see
Yeah, we
those.
approved the drawing of the sidewalk, right, a couple weeks ago.
Is it
In
a
court?
draft? We've got a drawing
We
for
have
it?
a draft.
Okay,
We
didn't
never saw
see-
one in here.
Yeah.
It was, should have been attached to the meeting
No,
package.
it was just the other stuff. I couldn't find
It
that.
had the estimate all written out, but there was no draft photo, I mean, no drawings or anything with it. We actually looked for
She,
them.
and, but anyway, she was excited about that. She thought that'd be
Okay.
a very qualifiable thing.
It's gonna make a major, dramatic,
Oh,
difference.
just
Yeah.
spruce up the whole place.
Oh, yeah, dramatic change.
Everything done to the exterior of that building and those sidewalks should fall in that. And the only thing I told the commissioner was, since we contribute to that, we might have a little special standing on how much of that they funded. I mean, you know, they're giving our own money back to us.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
Okay, very good.
yeah, so let's take a look at that. All right, let's move to item number 7, open and take action on necessary on the exterior lighting bids for the LEC. Anyone, wait a minute, those are all for
We
10
didn't-
o'clock.
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. Okay, so we can't open any of those till 10.
The same with the motion? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
9:55.
Yeah. Check my email.
We've got 4 minutes to go before we can do that.
Are we in trouble?
Are we in trouble?
Your wife thinks so.
No, I asked her to be here, and my son Zachary Carlton is here with her, and so glad to see you all in here. You know, she's had other opportunities in the year to appear with me in court, but those didn't happen, and we're glad.
I think what you meant, Jeff, is we know we're not in trouble. We're not sure about the big guy. Let's get that nailed down here.
But I did like that was the first place he went.
Matt, while we're waiting here, did you ever get any numbers together on that road cost stuff?
It was, yeah, it's just that you look at how it's supposed to be.
Okay. And I'd really like to share that with some of my constituents.
We should have the Jeopardy theme
Yeah,
playing.
yeah. Either that or more exciting, I think, than that is watching the Steve Garvey thing. You never know what's gonna come out.
Never know.
Mark, the, you know him, Bobby Whiteley. You know, he's a very good lighting guy
Yeah.
as well. Maybe we can directly send those guys some stuff that maybe they didn't, otherwise wouldn't necessarily see.
I think the reason we haven't got any bids is right now, all the contractors are so far behind, they're not looking for any additional work.
Right.
So unless you're gonna send some directly out, you might not get them back. They're covered up. It's a pretty slow 5 minutes.
Yeah, amazing.
First time I've ever been in this group, everybody quiet.
Yeah. You don't wanna get in trouble.
That's right.
I'm showing 10. Oh,
You know, thought of that, anything, I figured we'd run past. Russell was a little shorter than I thought that would be.
Yeah, I'm
Very
sad
interesting,
about
though.
that. I was hoping he had a solution.
Well, they diligently looked at a lot of different options.
Well, I saw you had an email in there about my computer service or whatever.
Yeah, pushing that to get to happen. Because the bills are gonna be, you're gonna see them electronically, we're not gonna see more pink,
Right.
stacks of pink paper.
I've been looking through them on my own, but
We got a deal that they're all listed, you had that.
yes.
But you will get them, they're working on a report that breaks them out.
So you can look at the individual.
Well, yes, but what they're gonna do, you'll get all of those offices you're the liaison to. Those will be brought together in a weekly report. Am I saying that right, Matt?
Yes, sir.
So you'll have the bills that way.
So you'll see the invoice in that category, is that correct?
Not just the total line
No,
item like
yeah.
it is now.
You can click on it.
That's what, I tried to click on it and see if it'd open it up into an individual invoice, and
The ones you had now would.
It
Okay.
will once you're in
Yeah.
a live environment, you know, it will allow you to do
Which, seeing that original invoice is what that Friday session is really all about, so that we can look for anything that raises a question or, and we found some things from time to time that,
That whole idea was paid off
yeah.
to do that.
and it's past 10.
All right, 10 o'clock. Thank you, Nancy. Okay, we'll call for the bids on the LEC lighting project first.
I have nothing in my email.
There's none.
There are none. Well, back to those flashlights on a pole.
Can we just see quotes now since we've gone through the bid process, or how?
What's the amount?
It's gonna probably be over 50.
I don't think so.
Have to go back and re-advertise. Okay.
All right, well, right here on the TV, we're telling electrical companies to please bid on our lighting.
Yeah, sure, they're all watching that now.
If you have friends that have companies, tell them to bid on it.
Judge, do we need a motion to rebid?
Yeah, we're gonna rebid that.
I'll
So
make a motion to rebid. You know,
Do we have a second to that?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Finnegan, seconded by Commissioner Muller, that since we received no bids, we will rebid the items and seek any responses. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried 5-0.
do y'all have a detailed sheet where the meeting is? Is it on the bid?
Okay, item 8 is open to take action as necessary on emulsion bids. Do we have any of those?
Yes. First one is from Ergon.
We're gonna need some of this in a few weeks.
Yep. It's on now.
Okay. They have bid the following products. CRS2 is $1.95 a gallon at Lawton. It's $1.99 delivered throughout Wichita County. On the CSS1, they did not bid. Prime AEP is $2.40 a gallon FOB Lawton and $2.49 throughout Wichita, $2.49.5 throughout Wichita County. They didn't bid the TRMSS asphalt cement or the CRSTR emulsion asphalt. They did add a product, CQS1F fogging, I think is what the fog.
Seal.
Fog seal.
Fog
Yeah.
seal.
It's $1.99 throughout Wichita County delivered. They also specified in there their pump charges and other minimum freight and that kind of thing.
Right.
And then Wright Asphalt has bid the following items. CRS-2 delivered to Wichita County is $2.48.5 coming out of Brownwood a gallon. CSS1 no bids. CSS1H origin Brownwood 248.5, excuse me, $2.48.5 a gallon throughout Wichita County. No bid on Prime AEP or TRMSS asphalt cement. TR Fog from Brownwood is bid at 2.641 per gallon. No bid on CRS TRM emulsion asphalt, and CRS 2R Brownwood is 2.585 per gallon, delivered throughout Wichita County. And then they do have the additional terms having to do with delivery and pump charge and that kind of thing. You all wish to make a motion to take these under advisement for a
So
week?
moved.
Second.
Okay, any comments or questions, anyone in the audience? Okay, all in favor of the motion by Commissioner Beecham, seconded by Commissioner Fincannon to take the bids under advisement for a week, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries 5-0. All right. It is 10:05 and we are down to the point of public comment. Anyone in the audience or on the phone have any comment they wish to make? All righty, hearing that, I'm going to take a moment of personal privilege and make an announcement. You all already noticed that Chris and Zach are here, and really I want to thank Chris and I. We were dating when I first started running for office, and she has stuck through the thick and the thin of this, and I appreciate that. And you know, it's nice to have somebody when you get home and you watch the news. She said, "You didn't really say that, did you?" But she has looked through many a thing that I was going to make some statements or comments on, and given me her advice, which was amazingly point on for the level of involvement. She went to conferences and conventions. So did the boys. The girls were too old. They had better things to do. But Zachary got baptized at one of the conventions. The waitress, she tripped. Whole pitcher of cold water went on.
That would do it.
You were what, probably 5 or 6, I think, at the time that happened. But you all have been through all that, and I appreciate that. And then there's my family here. Willie and Nancy and Joyce and Allison joined us, but the first 3 have been through a whole lot and have put up and smiled and done. And when everybody else was home during snowstorms and pandemics and all that kind of thing, this group was here for the most part. We did some staff rotation, but we were all here. In working with several different makeups of courts from the time I was commissioner until now, we've always made an attempt to make things better here for the people and for the constituents we have out there. I hope we have done that. Sometimes we've had to redo because we didn't do it the way we maybe should have. But that's what I like. We don't mind receiving and taking criticism and reacting to it. I have to look out there and say somebody new to this long tenure I've had. Tracy, I appreciate your frank advice professionally and personally as you approach the items and do that. Now, I've had 32 and a half years of this. Don't get excited. I'm not resigning today. I am telling you all that while I've looked forward to every day here, but it's time for me to step aside in a year and a half. I will finish out this term. There are things we want to do, but I was kind of taking a script from Judge Bob Brotherton, who announced early that he was not going to run again. And that's my plans. And my good friend Jim Allison said, well, you don't want to wind up like the Knox County judge did a few years ago. He decided not to run, and I think he called him yahoos, showed up to be county judge, and he jumped back in the race. I do not plan to do that. You all decide who you want to be your next county judge, and I'll work with it. In fact, what we've done in next year's budget, we put in there to allow for, after the votes have been canvassed, to bring that person on and have them get an idea. If they're an attorney, the judicial is going to be real straightforward. If they're a non-attorney, which y'all have put up with the end of the term, 24 years of probably the only or first non-attorney judge we've ever had. The attorneys have been courteous to me, and we have gotten through that. We only had one incident. A young lady in the public defender's office wasn't going to come to court because I wasn't a real judge. After her talk with Judge Nelson, who was chairman of the juvenile board, she showed up and apologized for even thinking about not coming. So we have worked through those things. But I want time for people who would make the commitment to want to come to do this job, to have time to plan their business and personal affairs, to look at doing that. So we'll see who emerges. The filing times aren't clear yet because we don't know. And the county judge is elected at large throughout the county. So that isn't being redistricted, but we've got the congressional redistricting, the state, the legislature's redistricting. It's going to be interesting to see how well that comes out and how long it winds up in court as they do that. But I want to have a chance for that person to come in. Now, they may decide they don't need any instruction from me, and that's fine also. We will save some money then. But I hope they will come in, and that we'll have a chance to make that transition. They'll get to know the very valuable staff that's on hand and take advantage of their experience and their commitment, because I know they will support the new county judge and work with them. And one thing I remember back from a campaign a long time ago, I asked my opponent whether he was going to he was running for king or county judge. And he said, well, I'm running for county judge. I said, well, you got to realize, of all the personnel changes you're going to make, there's only 2 people in the county. You decide whether they work there or not. County judge needs to be a servant, needs to be a team builder. And to come in, the most important thing, you got to have a decent mind, but a big heart. And you got to care about the people, you got to care about the job, you got to care about things way beyond yourself, is my advice to that person coming in. So, once again, I want to say thank you all for this very great job. I've enjoyed it a great deal. Thank you. Okay, any other public comment? That is 10:12 and our public comment period is over. Okay, do we need to come together on budget stuff this afternoon or continue on this morning? Is there any reason for that?
We've got a locations meeting at 3 on extension in the Owl Park office, so
Okay.
if that would interfere, don't think it would, but
I don't think we.
I don't think we have anything.
I don't know if much still pending, but
Willie, you got anything we need to? Okay. Fine.
you know,
Thank you.
we don't want to think about that right now.
At any rate, it's been good. All right, if we have no further business to be brought before the court, it is 10:13 and we're adjourned.
Jeff, it looks as though if it's